this Saturday is International Women's Day, and we're kicking off the whole month by celebrating women, our stories, our strengths, our resilience, and of course the secrets we keep, because let's be honest, we all have them. Today's episode is all about reclaiming your power, stepping into your worth, and recognising that your story, yes, your story, has meaning. Whether you've been through a tough breakup, struggling with self-doubt or food and body image, or just like you're losing yourself in the noise of life, this episode is for you. So grab a cuppa, a blanket, and if you're like me, a notebook full of ideas you'll probably forget to read later, and let's do this. Welcome to The Secrets in the Powder Room, where we share stories and open up conversations about all the secrets women are forced to keep out of fear and shame. I'm Louise Bryant, professional certified coach, intuitive eating counsellor, and trauma-informed domestic abuse specialist and survivor. We're here to support you on your healing journey and help you feel like you're not alone. This is not to be a replacement of your own professional, medical, or legal advice. This podcast contains adult language and content. Listener discretion is advised. So when I started this podcast 2 years ago, I wanted it to be a place where women felt seen, because so many of us keep things buried deep inside of us out of fear, out of shame, and just not wanting to make a fuss. But here's the thing, there's so much power in telling your story. And I have women message me all the time saying, Louise, I've never told anyone this, but, and then they pour their hearts out. And every single time I remind them that they're not alone. And that's why I'm collecting anonymous stories from women for a future book and possibly even this podcast. So whether it's funny, tragic, brave, empowering, or all of the above, I want to hear from you. And if you've been holding on to something that you think is shameful or embarrassing, or you just don't want to be that person that tells that story to people, or you feel like you haven't got the people around you that you can talk to or trust, then here's a chance to let it all out. So without giving your name, without fear of judgment, you can tell me your story. The link to submit is in the description, and I will be creating a book in the near future of all of the stories that we keep out of fear and shame. So this week I just wanted to share something that's been going on for me, because if there's one thing I know, and that's healing isn't always that straightforward. So right now is week 1 of a 6-week course of strong antibiotics. I have to take 16 of these tablets a day to treat a bone infection in my thumb. It's called osteomyelitis, I think, or septic arthritis. And this has been, I had surgery in my hand. I've had 7 operations, as I've probably mentioned a few times. 7 operations in 7 years on my right hand. And I had another operation a year ago, and they put a pin in my hand, and I had to have that removed last month because the pin was sticking on my nail bed and it's caused an infection, and the infection is in my bone. So I'm now having to have x-rays every 2 weeks to make sure the bone isn't eating away at the rest of the bone, and they've put me on these really strong antibiotics. And let me tell you, my body is really feeling it. So for antibiotics to do their job, they don't discriminate. They wipe out all the bacteria, including the good ones that keep your gut happy and balanced. And about 90% of our serotonin, our feel-good chemical, is actually produced in our gut, not in our brain. So when your gut health takes a hit, your mood does too. And I'm really, really feeling it now. And my energy is so low. My emotions are all over the place. And honestly, I feel pretty crap. So over the weekend, I reached out to my friend Karina Price, who's been on the podcast a couple of times, because she deals with anxiety and gut health. All I've wanted to do is curl up with a blanket and watch Friends and sleep and scroll and try and find things that make me laugh. But it's been a real struggle. I even got the ump with my daughter over the weekend because she was too cold to walk down the seafront, and I really wanted to get a walk in the sunshine. So speaking to my ADHD coach today, he was like, do not rely on your children to get your exercise. It is so important. Like, I know this, but sometimes we need someone else to tell us. And especially when you've got ADHD as well, and dopamine's a big thing that we lack, is making sure that I prioritise getting out, even if it's just like walking in the mornings. Now that the sun is shining, that big orange thing in the sky that we've all thought, what's this strange thing doing in the sky? But yeah, it's called the sunshine. And getting out in it and getting some vitamin D and getting my body moving as an absolute non-negotiable priority for me to get my dopamine going in the morning. And so that is something that I am now going to make sure it's a priority, and you can hold me accountable to that for next week's podcast. So as I said, I'm just a week into this 6 weeks of antibiotics, so I've still got 5 weeks to go. And obviously, as this isn't a quick fix, this means I have to be extra mindful about how I take care of myself. And instead of pushing through and pretending I feel fine, I'm choosing to protect my body and my mind during this time. So for me, it looks like obviously getting some exercise. Again, I'm limited to the amount of exercise I can do because of my right hand. So walking, running, cycling, Zumba, bar work, stretches, drinking more water because hydration is everything, choosing whole nourishing foods, not from a place of restriction, but from a place that gives my body what it needs. Cutting back on sugar and processed stuff because I know it's only going to make me feel worse. And most importantly, giving myself permission to rest. So this experience for me has been a huge reminder of how much we expect from our bodies, and when we get frustrated when they don't bounce back instantly, and when we feel sluggish, when we don't like the way they look or the way they've been conditioned to believe that they should look. For centuries, women's bodies have been controlled and judged and manipulated by diet culture, by the patriarchy, by impossible beauty standards, and we've been taught to see our bodies as a project that needs constant fixing instead of as a powerful, resilient vessel that they are. And do you know what makes it even worse? Women are sometimes the harshest critics of other women's bodies, and we've been conditioned to judge and compare instead of lifting each other up. And everything that I do is rooted in supporting women supporting women, and lifting each other up and not putting each other down. So today we are breaking the cycle, and we're talking about how diet culture has stolen our joy and how we reclaim our power, and why women need to support each other because our bodies are incredible. And no matter what size, shape or stage of healing you are, you just need to remember this. So now let's talk about self-care and boundaries, because honestly, if I had £1 for every time a woman told me I feel guilty for saying no, I'd be recording this podcast on my own private island. So setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's how we protect our peace, and it's how we reclaim our time, energy and mental well-being. And if you struggled with this, you're not alone. And that's why I run boundary setting workshop twice a year, and I'm going to be doing it again this month. So if you're in my membership, you get access to this for free, plus the recording if you can't make the live. So I just wanted to take a bit of time to maybe do a little bit of journaling just to see whereabouts you are in this journey. So if you want to pause me and grab a pen and paper, that would be awesome. But if you're driving, maybe you can just sit and think about the answers to these questions. What is your story from the past that you've kept out of fear and shame? And how would it feel to rewrite it with self-compassion? Where in your life have you given away your power? And what is one small step you can do to reclaim it? What is one boundary you need to set, and what's holding you back from doing it? And how have you shown resilience in your life, even when you didn't realise it at the time? And lastly, what is one way you can celebrate and honour yourself this Women's Month? This might be speaking to yourself with more kindness, letting go of guilt and shame, taking up space with no apologies, and doing something wonderful for yourself. So whatever it is, I invite you to commit to this today, because reclaiming your power isn't about just waiting for permission. It's about deciding that you are worthy of a life that you want. Take your time, think about these journaling questions, and if you go over to my blog post, everything that I've spoken about today and extra journaling questions are always posted up on the podcast blog. So if this episode resonates with you, I'd love to hear from you in my DMs. You can DM me on Instagram or at louisebryant.coach and share this episode with a friend who needs to hear it. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Secrets in the Powder Room podcast with me, Louise Bryant. And if you're ready to take the next steps in your healing journey, check out my free membership, which has got a self-care course in it and all the other freebies that I have to offer. And most importantly, if you've got a story to share, the link is in the description. No pressure, no names, just a safe space to let it all out. So until next time, keep choosing yourself, keep owning your truth, and keep rewriting your story.